what is required to be complied with. Do you have any issues, or I'm sure you do, with pesticides and some background on that?
Pesticides are one of my favorites. Uh, going back decades ago, the way the regulations were written and the laws were written, the difference between the regulation and the law, OSHA was created under a law, an act, and they write regulations. EPA was also created that way, but EPA has several laws that they have to follow: Clean Air Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, the what's called FIFRA, Fungicide, Insecticide, whatever, Rodenticide Act kind of thing. And pesticides fall, excuse me, fall under the FIFRA law. And so what that said was labels had to say everything about the safety of that pesticide. And the labels had to be approved by the EPA. And if you ever go to the EPA and look at these submissions, they actually have the physical label there. If you work in the drug industry, FDA does the exact same thing. You have to have a label that is approved. And so that's what was done. And EPA said, we don't care about safety, MSDSs back then. Probably in the last decade or so, because people kept asking for safety data sheets for pesticides, even though they did not apply, the EPA and OSHA decided to talk some, and the EPA said, we will approve an SDS that meets the OSHA requirements, but they want to see that it meets their requirements too. So you can actually have a safety data sheet that the EPA accepts and that meets the OSHA requirements. So, summarizing that, technically you do not need a safety data sheet for a pesticide unless EPA has said, yes, you're going to create a safety data sheet that meets these requirements. So any of the older pesticides are not going to have anything like that. Where do you go if you want to know what's going on legally? You go to the label, you don't go to the safety data sheet. This past week, I had a question, and it was a disinfectant, and very well known disinfectant, and it had it as an RTU, ready to use. And they gave me the safety data sheet, and you look at the disposal, and they, want to send it off as, significant hazardous waste. You go to the label, and it says you can dispose of in the sanitary sewer. And it's like, which one is correct? The label is going to be correct. And this product is widely used. It's used, in laboratories. It's used in cleaning companies. And what are the, cleaning companies cannot send the, cleaning solutions to hazardous waste every time. It has to be designed for going down the drain. And practicality has to come into everything we deal with.
Okay. Lots to consider. There are some complexities, but sounds like there's an agency precedent there versus OSHA, EPA, kind of kingdoms that rule in their jurisdictions. That says a lot, especially with SDSs. You'll notice that there are sections that OSHA says they're non-mandatory, and I believe the EPA parts of it are falls under one of those. I think that's a great example of where one ends and the other begins. So again, when OSHA adopted parts of the GHS in 2012, you notice several products have become corrosive. For example, soaps. Would you want to comment on that?
Actually, I had one other comment.
Sure.
The pesticides.
Hmm.
Um, People. One of the things that came out of the pandemic, and I had lots of arguments with industrial hygienists that were experts,
Hmm.
and they did not recognize that any disinfectant was regulated by the EPA. If you claim that something kills bacteria, stops viruses, whatever, that is a disinfectant, you have to register it with the EPA. And bleach would be an example of this. And so if it says that it kills bacteria, viruses, germs, it's a disinfectant. That goes under the EPA regulation.